Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Walking with Dinosaurs. And this is the winner of my Patreon movie review vote, even though this is not a movie, it is a 6-part documentary series, but it is still the winner. And if you would like for me to review a movie or even a mini-series of your choice, then click on the link below for my Patreon and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. So I guess the main hook for the Walking with Dinosaurs documentary series is that it acts like conceptually that they were able to go out into the wild and film dinosaurs, back in time or something. Although they don't actually say that in it, but they make it as if they're making a nature documentary, which was kind of a big thing at the time. Most documentaries about dinosaurs involve talking heads or animation or something like that, but none of them tried to do it on this kind of conceptual level. And I think that's really the real hook of it, and what makes it so digestible and what made it such a big hit is because you kind of know this format. You understand this format. You probably at some point in your life had to sit in a classroom and watch a nature documentary or about animals, or maybe you did just because you wanted to. I don't know your life. But Walking with Dinosaurs does that. And I think that's kind of just the bare bones hook of it, the concept, I guess. But it kind of does a little bit more, and it kind of takes advantage of what it's doing. First off, one of the things I find most interesting about it is it really doesn't bring attention to the concept. It kind of just presents it and you deal with it, and you're kind of fine with it as a viewer. There's only 2 instances in the whole, I think it's about 3 hours if you watch it all at once. One where a Tyrannosaurus screams at the camera, roars. They don't really scream. They're not like, roared at the camera and spit got on the lens. And then another time where they said, well, we'll use our infrared cameras to really show these dinosaurs in the darkness. And the first time, because they only did it in part 5 and part 6, which are the last 2 parts of it, I was really almost like fuck you guys, are you serious? Like, we got this far and you just suddenly given up on it? It was a little jarring. I think if you made Walking with Dinosaurs now, they would be a little more self-aware, and really you as an audience would be aware of its concept. It would draw attention to its concept. And in this, they don't really do that. In fact, they get away with a lot that you couldn't in a documentary. If you're filming an animal in the wild in a nature documentary, you're kind of stuck with what you get. Most of the time when you're making a documentary the way Walking with Dinosaurs is presented, you're going out in the wild, you're not supposed to interfere, you're kind of filming what's going on, and you kind of have to work with what you got. And that's kind of one of the things about making documentary. You get some amazing surprises, but you also get majorly fucked by being like, oh, I thought we would get this and we didn't, so we have to go in this way, or we have to tell the story this way, and I wish we could tell it that way, but we can't. That's just life when you're making these. But since they kind of, didn't actually technically have to do that, they can make the story exactly how they want it to, so they can have a lot of fun. They can follow actual characters doing amazing things that we probably couldn't film as well and have such as amazing shots as they have in this. I think most people, when I said I was watching this, and even the person I know who selected this for the movie review vote pointed out that the CG, some of it doesn't age as well. And I'm not going to say that every shot in this is holds up 17 years or 18 years, because it aired originally in England in 1999, aired in America in 2000. I'm not going to act like every shot holds up, but for the most part it does. It kind of actually is made the same way Jurassic Park did, with less money than Jurassic Park. They do the same thing where they combine models and puppets and CGI. Obviously the puppet stuff holds up the best. Still, a lot of it is really impressive. There's only 1 or 2 shots of the puppet stuff where I went, oh, that was that looked like puppets. I mean, I know it's puppet, I know it's not real dinosaurs, but it has a real physicality to it, texture to the dinosaurs, which I really liked. But for the most part, there's not really parts that really were jarring to me. There was never a part, there were not too much that really took me out of it technology wise. This really holds up. In fact, I was actually surprised how invested I got into it, and I tell people, did you know one of the biggest land mammals was this animal called the Diplodocus, and how that was the biggest land animal ever existed. And I actually saw the Diplodocus at the Museum of Natural History in New York, and I thought wow, that's huge. And I just thought, oh, that's a long neck, like Bigfoot in the Land Before Time, because I'm a stupid person who doesn't really know that much about dinosaurs. But I was really invested and interested in all these facts, and they did a really good job presenting it. And I'd be like, wait, what? That's a thing? That you go into the water dinosaurs and go underwater and see what was going on there and things. But also, each of them, really one of the lining genius things about how they did this is, if you saw a documentary series that was nature or Antarctica or whichever, they would go through the various kinds of animal life that lived in there, and they'd go, from the land and the sea and the plains and all that stuff. And they do that in this, but instead of just doing that in one particular era, they have each one takes place at a different time. So not only are you seeing dinosaurs under the water and in the skies and Diplodocus and Tyrannosaurus and all these different things, you're seeing them at different eras. Obviously they didn't all live at the same time, but they're able to kind of do the traditional thing that a nature documentary does, showing you the different kinds of animals. Doing that at the same time as going you through the age of dinosaur, which I thought was really kind of interesting how they did that. So you're always seeing like new eras and new different kinds of dinosaurs in each episode. They use that format in an interesting way where they're definitely showing you the whole era of dinosaurs, but they're also showing you the different kinds of dinosaurs at the same time, which I thought was really, really interesting and made it kind of even more fascinating. If it was just like from a point A to point B, this is the history of the dinosaurs and these are the kinds that are there and all this crap, it probably wouldn't be as fascinating or as interesting, and probably wouldn't be something that anyone would probably ask me to review 18 years later. I really don't think so. I think what they did, which was so smart, is you never get really bored with it because they're always hitting you with like new characters and new stories. And that's the other thing I think that really works, is you're following, in each episode, you're following certain dinosaurs and you're following them and you're seeing them grow up and the challenges they have. And they'll use that as kind of like a through line kind of to introduce other dinosaurs in that habitat and that exists at the time. Most of the time it's not exactly like a story per se. Some of the times it is about a certain thing, or about Diplodocus getting born and finding its way through the forest to find a herd of Diplodocus and how they grow up and everything like that. And that was interesting. The one episode that I think really did that excellently well and is pretty much like a story is Giant of the Skies, which was my favorite episode in terms of the story, just because it just shocked me, because I'm so used to, you know, the traditional thing, and you're seeing these, you get a little bit of story. You've seen those documentaries where you see like, oh, this thing's a baby and now it's grown up to be this thing. But in Giant of the Skies you follow a Tropithecus. You're basically following a flying dinosaur and you're seeing them fly from Brazil to the southern tip of North America, and you fly and you get to see the various other dinosaurs on land and what were popular in certain regions and things like that. But then you see the story of this flying dinosaur coming back to mate and his failure to mate and what happens from there. And it's actually kind of heartbreaking and beautiful and amazing how they do it. And I was like, honestly, I needed to take a break, just because not because I hated it and it was hard to watch or something like that, just because I was really taken aback by how powerful that episode was. And it kind of made me really interested in dinosaurs. It really did, because it gave me such a personal connection. And I don't know what this character's name was. I can't pronounce what even the fuck it was, but I am fascinated by it. And I think that's kind of the thing that works so well about Walking with Dinosaurs, is because it gives you that emotional level to it. And I think Giant of the Skies is how good they were at using that concept. It is the best they ever were at that. And I'm not a flying dinosaur person. I'm not really a dinosaur. I think they're cool, but I'm not like as interested, to be honest. And like paleo or something, you know what I mean? Like paleo is clearly really into it. Giant of the Skies was absolutely a really amazing piece of work. And I honestly, if they wanted to make, they made like a Walking with Dinosaurs movie that seemingly no one liked really, but if they were to make like a little short out of that and just take out Kenneth Branagh's narration and things like that, you could do it, because the story is so tight in that. It's just like so well done. I was just captivated. I'll probably watch that one again, but I find that one just heartbreakingly beautiful. It was just really, really good. I like certain things they do, particularly the extinction of the dinosaurs. It kind of made me think about that more, and how I didn't realize all that volcano stuff was going on at the time. It seemed kind of like they had a lot of stuff going against them that led to their extinction. It wasn't just the asteroid. I mean, the asteroid it was kind of really the thing that ended it there. But it was interesting how they showed it almost from the perspective that the dinosaurs would see it. I've always seen like the action shot of an asteroid hitting Earth and you see the thing and all that stuff, and that's fine. I liked seeing it from their perspective, because I rarely see that. I like just information like Spirits of the Ice Forest, which was the fifth one, kind of learning about how there was this landmass that was part of Australia, part of Antarctica and things, like, which was like a landmass that wouldn't exist later, and things like that just I found fascinating. And they used like real locations from like Tasmania and New Zealand and various other places. I really like Kenneth Branagh's narration. He seems to kind of tone it down in ways that now I feel like I can't imagine him doing. For some reason, for America, because this is a co-production between BBC and Discovery, it was a much bigger hit in BBC, at least population-wise, percentage of population-wise of people who watched it in England. I think, more people probably saw it in America, but less percentage of the population. They redubbed it when they released it in America in 2000 with Avery Brooks, who's most famous for Deep Space Nine and things. I had seen this before, parts of it, when it aired. I didn't remember having a huge connection to it, but watching it now, I think I enjoyed it more now. It's a lot more memorable to me now than when I saw it then. But I couldn't even find on YouTube or anything any of the Avery Brooks stuff. It seems to be entirely Kenneth Branagh's narration now. I really don't get when they're like, oh, we have an English person narrating this, or we have an English cast in an animated film, let's redub it with American actors. I'm like, they're speaking English. Like, why are we spending money on something that's stupid? Apparently other languages do that as well in terms of, you know, different accents and things like that. So it's not just dumb English speakers or something like that. It's just like a thing that happens. I don't really get it, but I like Avery Brooks. I tried to find a clip of him doing it, and I'm sure he did a great job. I remembered him doing a great job. Maybe Kenneth Branagh's is why it made a bigger impression on me. I'm not exactly sure how scientifically accurate this thing is now, or when you're watching this review. Apparently some of the pooping stuff, which was at the beginning, and farting things that were, I think, the first 2 episodes. I don't think they have that in subsequent episodes. It's kind of like a bigger deal at the beginning of the documentary series. Was debated, but he said no one has proof that it didn't happen. This is just what we think happened, which is like, it's not a good argument, but okay. Cool. I thought that was kind of a little funny. Apparently there was more debates on the scientific accuracy in the beginning of the series and less so as the series went on, or as the producer has said, which I've noticed there's more criticism of those. I don't love the Tyrannosaurus Rex character design, but I like how it's handled, and I felt interested in it. I think probably one of the things that works so much about the Giant of the Skies episode, or episode 4, over the other ones, is that follows one character, and oftentimes they will just show you like how this certain species of dinosaur works and what they do. They won't show it through one character, they'll show it through multiple characters, and it's harder to personally attach yourself to. It's kind of playing in different things, and I guess working with what they can do for individual dinosaurs and things like that. I think they did an amazing job. I think this holds up really well. It's concerned with being educational, and I guess you could say this is infotainment, as you'd say, but I think it's really good at being infotainment. It kind of does a lot of things kind of quietly, and I find that really interesting. I love that it's a highly conceptual idea to do a documentary like this, and it works so well, but it works in a way that you're not calling attention to itself. You know, in the post era of being self-aware about documentaries and like Documentary Now and things like that, and I love that stuff, it's kind of beautiful to see something like this where it is highly, insanely conceptual, but it's not calling attention to it. It's just doing it. It's doing it in such a regard like you don't even think about it. It's not really a satire, obviously, and it's not trying to make fun of nature documentaries. It's not trying to fall into that genre. It's trying to kind of do its own thing, which I think obviously this is a very unique documentary series, so you kind of, you know, like sort of have to do that. And I like that it plays around with the form and plays with it in certain ways to get certain eras and certain different kind of dinosaurs. Certainly, you know, they made a lot of different Walking With series and specials, and the other ones actually sort of sound interesting to me, particularly what was going on. The prequel series and with the mammals seems to be a lot of interesting ones. So it seems like a cool idea. It's a good way to get you interested in history, because it's a better way to get you interested in dinosaurs, to kind of present it almost like, you know, how you present any other sort of animal if you're watching Planet Earth, even though this obviously predates Planet Earth by quite a few years. But it was one of those documentary series that almost everyone knew about and remembered, and reevaluating it, I think it's one that holds up very, very well. Because I think it's a way to get people into dinosaurs because it presents it in a way of how they understand media. And I think that's one of the smarter ways that you can educate people, is use the media that they use to understand things. So use, you know, advertising and things like that to kind of speak to them in ways to get them that kind of information, where suddenly you're captivated and you realize you're learning and you're fascinated by like that huge sea dinosaur that was like one of the biggest water dinosaurs ever. It was like bigger, it was like gigantic, and I was just like fascinated. I was like telling friends about it. It was just like, I was like, oh my god, you can't believe this thing. And even I think also they have some really bittersweet, interesting endings and interesting ideas. There was one that shot that everyone talks about where it's like a Tyrannosaurus, or I don't know if it's a Tyrannosaurus, but it's like a relation to the Tyrannosaurus, I guess, kind of sitting on an island like peering, and the way Kenneth Branagh is describing it, you think it's like they're talking about him peering and looking at his prey, and this huge sea kind of monster almost like comes and grabs him and pulls him back in. Just such beautiful stuff like that. They're really, really good at presenting it to you and captivating you and entertaining you in such a way I rarely see documentaries do, even the ones that I really like. Even now, I don't think Planet Earth can do this well, but it's also because they manufactured all this. They made all this. They obviously are using real facts and what they know about these creatures and about these dinosaurs, but they're using it in ways that can be entertaining and captivating and bittersweet and beautiful in ways that I rarely see anything about dinosaurs do. Science is constantly changing, and what we understand about dinosaurs and stuff is constantly changing, as it should, but I still think this is a great way to get into dinosaurs and get into that world and be fascinated by it. And I think as a documentary, it does what it plans to do very well and does it very almost seamlessly. I just kind of applaud the direction of this. Tim Haynes and Jasper James do a really, really great job at really both entertaining you and fascinating you and making you almost want to read more. I mean, I didn't read more, but it makes you want to think about it. It can kind of putting you in those shoes of watching a flying dinosaur go on an amazing journey and how beautiful that life must have been and how crazy the world was back then. It kind of makes you think about how much the world has changed and think about our past and think about Earth's past. That is really hard to get people to relate to as much as I think Walking with Dinosaurs puts you in it, just like a great nature documentary can. But it's not a nature documentary, it's something they came up with conceptually, and it works so well on that level you're not even thinking about how this is a great conceptual documentary that's putting you there. So if you've seen Walking with Dinosaurs and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. So this, of course, was a winner of the movie review vote, and if you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below for my Patreon pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. Thank you very much for watching.